My name is Elena Hartwell, and the morning everything shattered started like any other Wednesday. I was standing at my kitchen counter, slicing strawberries for my daughter's lunches, when I heard the sound that would change our lives forever. It wasn't a knock. It wasn't a doorbell. It was the explosive crack of my front door being ripped off its hinges. I'm 68 years old now. My hands shake a little when I hold a pen, but that morning they were steady as I reached for the phone. I've spent the last 40 years as a nurse in the pediatric ward at St. Mary's Hospital here in Austin. That kind of work teaches you two things: how to stay calm when everything is falling apart, and how to protect the vulnerable no matter what it costs you. The kitchen was filled with morning light, the kind that makes everything look softer than it really is. In the bedrooms down the hall, my 3 granddaughters were still sleeping. Sophia is 16 now, captain of the debate team with a mind sharper than any lawyer I've ever met. Olivia is 14, an artist who sees the world in colors I can't even imagine. And little Maya, my sweet Maya, is 12 years old. She was just 6 weeks old, wrapped in a thin hospital blanket that smelled like cigarettes, when her mother abandoned her on my doorstep. I remember I was reaching for the lunch bags when it happened. The boo was so loud, it felt like the house itself was screaming. The china cabinet in the dining room rattled. Picture frames fell from the walls. Before I could even process what was happening, my kitchen filled with men in black tactical gear, their faces hidden behind masks, their voices sharp and commanding. Hands behind your head. I've never been a small woman, but age has a way of making you feel fragile. My first thought wasn't about myself. It was about the girls. I took one step toward the hallway, toward their bedrooms, and a gloved hand shoved me backward. I stumbled, my hip hitting the edge of the kitchen table. Pain shot through my leg, but I barely felt it. "Please," I said, my voice coming out stronger than I felt. "There are children in this house. My granddaughters. Please don't scare them." But it was too late. I could hear them waking up. I heard Maya start to cry, that high-pitched wail of pure terror. I heard Sophia's voice, demanding to know what was happening. I heard Olivia screaming my name. "Grandma, Grandma, what's going on?" 2 officers grabbed my arms and yanked them behind my back. The cold metal of handcuffs bit into my wrists. I tried to turn my head to see down the hallway, but a hand pressed against my shoulder, forcing me to face the wall. "Don't hurt them," I begged. "Whatever this is about, it's about me, not them. They're just children." The kitchen was chaos. Officers were opening cabinets, pulling out drawers, scattering the contents across the floor. The strawberries I had been slicing rolled across the counter and fell to the tiles, leaving little red stains that looked like blood. That's when I saw her. She came through the destroyed doorway like she owned the place, and I suppose in some legal way she thought she did. Jennifer, my daughter, but this woman looked nothing like the Jennifer I remembered. The last time I saw her, she was a skeleton wrapped in skin, her eyes hollow from whatever pills or powder she had taken that week. She had 3 screaming babies in car seats, and $50 to her name. She left them in my living room, said she needed to clear her head, and disappeared into the night. 13 years without a phone call, a birthday card, a single sign that she remembered she had daughters. And now she stood in my kitchen, wearing a designer coat that probably cost more than my monthly pension, her hair professionally styled, her makeup perfect. She looked at me on the floor in handcuffs, and smiled. It wasn't a warm smile. It was the smile of someone who had just won a game I didn't even know we were playing. "There she is, officers," Jennifer said, her voice dripping with false emotion. "That's the woman who stole my babies. That's the monster who kept me from my children for 13 years. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. Stole them? I didn't steal them. I saved them. I raised them when she threw them away like garbage. Jennifer swept past me, her expensive perfume filling the air as she rushed toward the bedrooms. "Oh, my precious angels," she wailed, her voice so theatrical it made me sick. "Mommy is here. Mommy finally found you." I watched helplessly as she pulled Maya into her arms. My granddaughter, who had never known this woman, went rigid with fear. She didn't know who this stranger was. To Maya, I was her mother. I was the one who sat with her through nightmares, who taught her to read, who braided her hair every morning before school. "Get away from them," I shouted, struggling against the handcuffs. "You left them in dirty diapers for 3 days. You walked away." She turned to look at me, and just for a second, the mask slipped. She gave me a cold, calculating look that told me everything I needed to know. This wasn't about love. This wasn't about redemption. This was about something else entirely. Then the tears started again, perfectly timed for the officers watching. "You see," she sobbed, turning to the nearest policeman. "She's violent. She's delusional. She told me if I ever came back, she would kill me and the girls. I've been living in fear for 13 years. Lies. Every word was a lie. But as I looked around at the officers, at their stern faces and drawn weapons, I realized they didn't know that. They saw a well-dressed, crying mother and a rough-looking old woman in handcuffs on a kitchen floor covered in spilled strawberries. "Elena Hartwell," one of the officers said, pulling me to my feet. "You're under arrest for kidnapping, custodial interference, and child endangerment." They read me my rights, but I couldn't hear the words over the sound of my granddaughter's crying. As they dragged me toward the front door, I looked back. Jennifer had her arms around all 3 girls, but they weren't hugging her back. Sophia looked like she might be sick. Olivia was crying so hard she couldn't breathe. Maya was trying to pull away. And then I saw him, a man with a professional camera standing on my front porch, already taking pictures. Jennifer immediately adjusted her position, tilting her head to catch the light, making sure the girls were visible in the frame. "Hold that pose, Mrs. Hartwell," the photographer called out. "This is going to be front-page news. Mother reunited with stolen children after 13 years. The flash went off again and again, and I realized with horror what was happening. This wasn't just about getting the girls back. This was a media event. She was using them as props. As the police car pulled away from my house, I watched my entire world disappear in the rearview mirror. 13 years. 13 years of scraped knees and parent-teacher conferences. 13 years of birthday cakes baked at midnight and science projects finished at the kitchen table. 13 years of being their mother in every way that mattered. And in 20 minutes, Jennifer had returned from wherever she'd been hiding to destroy everything I'd built. But as I sat in that cage, my wrists aching from the cuffs, I felt something shift inside me. It wasn't despair. It was anger. Cold, focused anger. Jennifer thought she'd won. She thought the expensive clothes and the fake tears would fool everyone. She thought I was just a poor, helpless old woman. She forgot who raised her. She forgot that nurses learn to fight for their patients no matter what. And she definitely forgot about the envelope I'd hidden in my closet the night she signed her children away. The officer driving glanced at me in the rearview mirror. "You got anything to say, lady?" I leaned my head back against the seat and closed my eyes. "Not yet," I whispered. "But I will." The war had just begun, and I was going to expose every lie she'd ever told. The holding cell was exactly as cold and miserable as you'd imagine. Concrete walls, a steel bench, and the overwhelming smell of industrial cleaner mixed with human despair. I sat there among women who looked like they belonged in a place like this, women with hard eyes and harder stories. And then there was me, a 68-year-old grandmother who still had strawberry juice under her fingernails. After what felt like hours, a guard appeared at the bars. "Hartwell. Legal visit." They walked me down a fluorescent-lit hallway to a small room with a metal table bolted to the floor. Sitting there was a young woman who looked like she'd just graduated law school last week. Her blazer was slightly too big, and she kept pushing her glasses up her nose nervously. "Mrs. Hartwell," she said, her voice wavering slightly. "I'm Rebecca Chen. I'm your public defender." She couldn't meet my eyes. She shuffled papers around on the table, dropped her pen, picked it up with shaking hands. I'd seen that look before in young nurses on their first day in the ER. She was terrified. "Rebecca," I said, keeping my voice gentle, "just tell me straight, when can I go home to my girls?" She winced like I'd slapped her. "That's the problem, ma'am. The judge set bail at $750,000. I actually laughed. It was a short, bitter sound that echoed off the concrete walls. "I'm a retired nurse, living on a pension of $2,800 a month. You might as well have said $750 million. Rebecca pulled out a tablet and slid it across the table. I didn't want to look. I wanted to close my eyes and pretend this was all a nightmare. But I looked. It was a news conference. The banner across the bottom read, "Grandmother arrested for kidnapping 3 children." Jennifer stood at a podium surrounded by microphones. Next to her was a man I recognized from billboards around the city, Marcus Blackwell, the kind of lawyer who makes millions destroying people's lives. "My mother is a dangerous fanatic," Jennifer sobbed into the cameras, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. 13 years ago, I came home from work to find her waiting with a gun. She threatened to kill me if I didn't leave my babies behind. A gun. I've never owned a gun in my life. The closest thing I had to a weapon was the wooden spoon I used to scare cats out of my garden. She forced me to run, Jennifer continued, her voice breaking perfectly for the cameras. She kept my daughters locked away. She told them I was dead. For 13 years I've been living in terror, hiding, praying for the day I could save them. I pushed the tablet away. My hands were shaking now. Every word out of her mouth was a lie. There was no gun. There was no threat. There was just Jennifer strung out and desperate, begging me to help her one more time. Rebecca cleared her throat. "Mrs. Hartwell, the public perception is very bad. If you have any proof, any witnesses who can contradict her story, now is the time." I closed my eyes and let myself remember that day 13 years ago. It was August, brutally hot, the kind of Texas heat that makes the air shimmer. Jennifer had shown up at my door at 6 a.m, shaking and sweating, her pupils like pinpoints. "Mom, I need money," she'd said, pulling at her hair. "I owe some people, bad people. They're going to hurt the girls if I don't pay them." I didn't have $8,000 in savings, but I had something else. I had my car, a 2009 Honda Civic that I'd bought used and maintained carefully for years. It was my independence, my freedom, my way of getting to work and to the grocery store. I drove it to the dealership that afternoon. I sold it for cash. I walked home in the heat carrying a paper bag full of bills. I handed it to Jennifer. "Take it," I told her. "Pay them. Get clean. Be a mother to your daughters." She grabbed the money without even looking at the babies sleeping in their playpen. She just ran. And now she was on national television, saying I'd chased her away with a gun. "Mrs. Hartwell," Rebecca said softly, "we need to prepare a defense." Before I could answer, the door opened. A different guard stood there. "Hartwell, you made bail." I blinked in confusion. "How? I didn't have anyone who could post that kind of money." The guard shrugged. "Bail bondsmen took your house as collateral. You're free to go, but if you miss a court date or violate any conditions, you lose everything." I signed the papers with numb fingers. My house, the house where I'd raised my daughter and then raised her daughters, was now on the line. If I made one wrong move, I'd lose the only thing I had left. The taxi ride home was silent. The driver recognized me from the news. I could see him glancing at me in the mirror with disgust. When we pulled up to my house, he didn't even take my money. He just drove away, leaving me standing on the curb. My front door was still broken, hanging crooked on its hinges. Yellow police tape stretched across the porch. I ducked under it and pushed the door open. The silence hit me like a physical force. For 13 years, this house had been filled with noise. The sound of the girls arguing over the bathroom, music playing too loud, laughter echoing through the halls. Now there was nothing but the hum of the refrigerator and my own breathing. The police had torn the place apart. Couch cushions were slashed open, drawers were dumped out. In the kitchen, cereal was scattered across the floor like snow. But the real damage wasn't from the police. I walked down the hallway and saw that all the pictures were gone. The walls had been covered with photographs. Sophia's school portraits, Olivia's art show, Maya's first day of kindergarten. Every frame was empty. The glass was shattered on the floor. Jennifer had taken them, or destroyed them. She wanted to erase the last 13 years, pretend they never happened, pretend I had never been their grandmother. I sat down on Maya's bed. It still smelled like her strawberry shampoo. Under the bed, my foot hit something. I reached down and pulled out a small stuffed rabbit, worn and loved, with one ear chewed off. Maya had hidden it there when I told her she was getting too old for stuffed animals. I held that rabbit, and I let myself cry for the first time since this nightmare began. Not for me, but for them. For 3 girls who'd just had their entire world ripped away by a woman who'd abandoned them without a second thought. My phone, which the police had finally returned to me, rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Grandma. It was Sophia. Her voice was barely a whisper. Sophia, sweetheart, are you okay? Where are you? We're at some hotel, the Meridian downtown. Grandma, she's crazy. She locked us in a room. She took our phones. She's making us pose for pictures for her Instagram. She keeps pinching Maya when she doesn't smile. I felt rage flood through my veins. She's hurting you? Not hitting, Sophia said quickly. But Grandma, she doesn't know anything about us. She tried to give Maya peanut butter cookies. My heart stopped. Maya has a severe peanut allergy. Even trace amounts can send her into anaphylactic shock. We keep EpiPens everywhere, in the kitchen, in her backpack, in my purse. Did she eat any? I demanded. No, Sophia said. I knocked them out of her hand. But Grandma, Jennifer got mad. She took Maya's EpiPen. She said we were being dramatic. I was already grabbing my keys. I'm coming to get you. You can't, Sophia whispered urgently. There are restraining orders. If you come near us, they'll arrest you. And Grandma, she's talking about taking us away. I heard her on the phone with someone. She said something about Europe, about a boarding school. Before I could respond, I heard a door opening in the background, and Jennifer's voice, sharp and suspicious. Who are you talking to? The line went dead. I stood there in Maya's room, holding a stuffed rabbit and a phone that had just delivered my worst nightmare. Jennifer wasn't just using them for photo opportunities. She was planning to ship them off to some boarding school in another country where I would never see them again. I couldn't go to the police. I'd already tried that and been laughed out of the station. I couldn't go to the hotel. I'd be arrested on sight for violating the restraining order. But I wasn't helpless. I'd spent 40 years solving problems, thinking on my feet, protecting children from the people who were supposed to love them. I pulled out my phone and dialed a number I hadn't called in 20 years. It rang 4 times before a gravelly voice answered. Yeah. Marcus, I said. It's Elena. I need your help. There was a long pause. Marcus Reeves had been my partner in nursing school before he left medicine and became a private investigator. We'd lost touch over the years, but I knew he owed me a favor from a long time ago when I'd covered for him during a difficult time. Elena Hartwell, he said slowly. I saw you on the news. Hell of a mess you're in. My granddaughters are in danger, I said, and I need to know why Jennifer came back after 13 years. She didn't come back because she suddenly remembered she was a mother. No, Marcus said, and I could hear him typing on a keyboard. No, she didn't. Give me 24 hours. I'll call you back. The line clicked off. I sat in the growing darkness of Maya's room and waited. Outside, I could hear my neighbors talking in hushed voices. I'd lived on this street for 30 years. I'd brought them casserole when they were sick. I'd watered their plants when they were on vacation. Now they crossed the street to avoid me. 22 hours later, Marcus called back. Elena, he said, his voice tense. You need to sit down for this. I'm already sitting. Your daughter didn't come back because she missed the girls, Marcus said. A lot of money. What are you talking about? He took a breath. Do you remember Jennifer ever mentioning a man named Christopher Stone? The name meant nothing to me. No. Christopher Stone was the son of Maxwell Stone, the oil and gas billionaire. Christopher died in a car accident 6 months ago. He had a trust fund worth $22 million. I still didn't understand. What does that have to do with my granddaughters? Everything, Marcus said quietly, because Christopher Stone was their father. And since he's dead, that $22 million goes to his children, to Sophia, Olivia, and Maya. If you feel my words, show your support by liking the video and subscribing to the channel. And tell me from which city you belong, so I can see how far a woman's impactful voice can reach. Help me build this community, so we can bring more truthful stories for you. The world tilted sideways. I gripped the edge of Maya's bed to keep from falling. "That's impossible," I whispered. "Jennifer told me their father was some musician named Chris she met at a concert. She said he died before Maya was born." "She lied," Marcus said. "Christopher Stone was the black sheep of the Stone family. He had addiction issues. The family kept him at arm's length, gave him money to stay away. Jennifer met him during one of his bad periods. When she got pregnant with Sophia, the Stone family paid her $50,000 to go away and never mention the connection. And she blew through it in less than a year." "So Jennifer has known all along that the girls had a wealthy father," I said slowly. "And now that he's dead, now the money goes to his legal heirs," Marcus finished. "But there's a catch. The money is in a trust until they turn 21. But the legal guardian gets a management fee." "How much?" $600,000 a year, plus full access to a family estate in River Oaks. The guardianship hearing is scheduled for next Friday. If Jennifer has sole custody by then, she gets control of everything. "And if I'm in prison on kidnapping charges," I said, my voice hollow, "then there's no one to challenge her for guardianship." "Exactly," Marcus said. "She had to destroy you, Elena. She had to make you look like a monster so no judge would ever give you custody. The kidnapping charges, the restraining order, the media circus, it's all designed to clear the path to that money." I sat there in the darkness, the pieces falling into place. Jennifer didn't see Sophia, Olivia, and Maya as her daughters. She saw them as lottery tickets. $22 million worth of lottery tickets that she'd almost thrown away 13 years ago. "Marcus," I said quietly, "I need you to find out everything about that guardianship hearing, every detail, every requirement." "Already on it," he said. "Elena, be careful. Jennifer has expensive lawyers now, and people like that play dirty." "I know," I said, "but so do desperate grandmothers." After I hung up, I sat in Maya's room for a long time. Jennifer had the law on her side. She had money, she had lawyers, she had the media convinced she was a victim. But I had something she didn't. I had the truth, and I had an envelope in my closet that could prove it. The next morning I woke up at dawn with a plan forming in my mind. I couldn't sit around waiting for the legal system to maybe possibly believe me over Jennifer's performance. The guardianship hearing was in 6 days. If I didn't act now, I'd lose the girls forever. I went to my closet and pushed aside the winter coats I hadn't worn in years. In the back corner, there was a small fireproof box. I bought it years ago to store important documents. My hands shook as I entered the combination. Inside, beneath my birth certificate and the deed to my house, was a manila envelope. I pulled it out and held it for a moment, feeling the weight of what it contained. I hadn't looked at these papers in 13 years. I'd hoped I'd never have to, but Jennifer had forced my hand. I opened the envelope carefully. Inside was a handwritten letter on notebook paper, the kind with blue lines. The ink was faded, but still legible. The paper was dated August 18, 2011, and it bore the official stamp of a notary public. "I, Jennifer Marie Hartwell, do hereby relinquish all parental rights and responsibilities for my daughters Sophia, Olivia, and Maya to my mother, Elena Hartwell. I understand this is permanent and final. In exchange for giving up all claims to motherhood and agreeing to never contact them again, I accept the sum of $12,000 in cash for the purchase of a 2010 Nissan Altima. I swear I will never return." Below her messy signature were 3 more signatures: the notary public, my signature, and the signature of a witness, my neighbor Dorothy, who had since passed away. But the document wasn't the most damning thing in that envelope. Clipped to it was a photograph. The picture showed Jennifer standing next to a silver Nissan in a dealership parking lot. She was wearing sunglasses and a tank top, grinning widely, holding up the car keys in one hand and a stack of cash in the other. She looked triumphant, like she'd just won the lottery instead of selling her children. But if you looked at the background of the photo, behind the car, you could see a stroller sitting on the hot pavement. Maya was in it, screaming, her face red. Jennifer had left her in the Texas heat while she posed for pictures with her new car. I had taken this photo myself on my phone, then printed it out. I'd wanted evidence of what she'd done, proof of the kind of person who could abandon her children for a vehicle. I put the document and the photo back in the envelope. This was my nuclear option. If I showed this to a judge, it would destroy Jennifer's case completely. It would prove she'd abandoned the girls willingly, that she'd sold them for $12,000, but it would also hurt my granddaughters. They would learn that their mother had put a price tag on them, that they'd been worth less than a used car to the woman who gave birth to them. I closed my eyes and made a decision. Their future was more important than protecting them from painful truths. They needed to be safe, even if it meant shattering some illusions. I called Marcus. "I need you to make copies of something," I said. "Multiple copies. And I need you to keep the originals somewhere safe." An hour later, Marcus arrived at my house in an unmarked car. He'd aged since I'd last seen him, his hair more gray than brown now, but his eyes were still sharp. He looked at the document and let out a low whistle. "She sold them," he said quietly, "for $12,000. "Yes," I said, "and I need this to get to the right people at the right time. But Marcus, there's more. I need to know what Jennifer is planning. I need to know if she's really going to try to take them out of the country." Marcus nodded. "I've got a contact at the Meridian. Let me make some calls." He stepped outside to use his phone. I paced my kitchen, too anxious to sit still. Through the window, I could see Mrs. Peterson across the street watching my house. When she saw me looking, she quickly closed her curtains. Marcus came back inside, his face grim. "Your instinct was right. Jennifer booked 3 tickets to Zurich for this Sunday, 2 days before the guardianship hearing." "She's running," I said. "She knows I might have proof. She knows her story might fall apart." "Worse than that," Marcus said. "I did some digging into this boarding school she mentioned to the girls. It's called Alpine Academy. It costs $80,000 a year per student, and it's known for taking troubled kids from wealthy families. Kids whose parents want them out of the way. She's going to warehouse them," I whispered. "She's going to stick them in a boarding school in Switzerland, collect her $600,000 annual fee, and live her life like they don't exist." Marcus put a hand on my shoulder. "We're not going to let that happen." "But how do we stop her? I can't go near them. I can't call them. If I violate the restraining order, I go to jail and she wins by default." "Then we don't violate it," Marcus said. "We go through the system. We get this evidence to the district attorney. We get the charges against you dropped." "And what if that takes too long? What if she's on a plane before anyone listens?" Marcus looked at me for a long moment. "Then we make sure she doesn't get on that plane." Over the next 2 days, Marcus worked connections I didn't know he had. He got copies of the document to a sympathetic lawyer who agreed to file an emergency motion. He contacted a reporter he trusted, someone who would actually investigate instead of just repeating Jennifer's lies. But Jennifer had her own network, and they were working just as hard. On Thursday afternoon, 2 days before the scheduled flight to Zurich, I got a visitor. I heard a car pull up outside. Through the window, I saw a sleek black Mercedes. The door opened, and out stepped Marcus Blackwell, Jennifer's lawyer. I considered not answering the door, but curiosity got the better of me. I opened it, but kept the screen door locked between us. "Mrs. Hartwell," he said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes, "I won't take much of your time. I'm here to make you an offer." "I'm not interested in anything you're selling," I said. He pulled out an envelope from his jacket. Inside this envelope is a cashier's check for $75,000. "My client is feeling generous. She recognizes that you did care for the children for a number of years, and she wants to compensate you for your time." I stared at him. "She wants to pay me off." "We prefer to think of it as a mutual agreement," Blackwell said smoothly. "You sign a document relinquishing any claims to the children, you agree not to contest the guardianship, and you take the money. You could buy a nice little condo in Florida. Enjoy your retirement." The rage built slowly in my chest, like a fire starting with just a spark. "What happens to them?" "They'll be well cared for," Blackwell assured me. "The finest schools, the best opportunities. Mrs. Hartwell is committed to giving them everything they need." "Everything except a mother who actually loves them," I said. "Everything except stability and safety," and someone who knows that Maya is allergic to peanuts. Blackwell's smile faded. Mrs. Hartwell, be reasonable. You're 68 years old. You're facing felony charges. Even if you fight this, you'll lose. Take the money. Walk away with something. I stepped closer to the screen door. I looked him directly in the eyes. You tell Jennifer that she can't buy me. Tell her that I'm not for sale. And tell her that when I see her in court, I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of person sells her children for a used car. Blackwell's expression hardened. You're making a mistake, he said coldly. A very expensive mistake. When we're done with you, you won't have a penny or a reputation left. Then I'll be broke and honest, I said. Better than rich and rotten. He got back in his Mercedes and drove away. I watched him go, my hands shaking with adrenaline. I just declared war on a man who destroyed people for a living. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the girls in that hotel room, locked away like prisoners. I thought about Maya's allergy. I thought about the plane tickets to Zurich. At 11 p.m., my phone rang. Unknown number again. Grandma, it was Olivia this time. Her voice thick with tears. Grandma, you have to help us. Olivia, sweetheart, what's wrong? She's getting worse, Olivia sobbed. She screams at us if we don't smile right for her photos. She slapped Sophia today because Sophia told a reporter the truth about you. And Grandma, she's been drinking. A lot. She's supposed to be watching us, but she keeps going to the hotel bar and leaving us alone. Where are you right now? I asked. In the bathroom, Olivia whispered. It's the only place we can get privacy. Grandma, I'm scared. She keeps talking about Switzerland. She says we're leaving and we're never coming back. Listen to me carefully, I said. I'm working on getting you back. But I need you girls to be strong for just a little longer. Can you do that? I think so, Olivia said. But Grandma, what if she gets on that plane before you can stop her? She won't, I promised, hoping desperately that I was telling the truth. I won't let her take you away from me. After we hung up, I sat in the darkness of my living room and realized I was out of time. The legal system moves slowly. Emergency motions and investigations could take weeks. I had 2 days. I called Marcus at midnight. I don't care if this is legal or not, I said. I need to get to my granddaughters before Sunday. Elena, Marcus said carefully, if you violate that restraining order, you'll go to prison. The judge won't care about your reasons. Then help me do it in a way that won't get me arrested, I said. Please, Marcus, I'm begging you. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Then Marcus sighed. All right, he said, I might have an idea, but you're going to have to trust me. The next day, Friday, Marcus picked me up in his car. We drove to a small law office on the east side of town. Inside, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes greeted us. Elena, this is Patricia Morrison, Marcus said. She's a family law attorney, and more importantly, she's willing to file an emergency custody motion based on the evidence you have. Patricia shook my hand. I've seen the document you have, she said, and I've seen the photo. This changes everything, but we need to move fast. We spent the next 4 hours preparing the motion. Patricia worked with a speed and efficiency that gave me hope for the first time in days. By 3 p.m., we were standing in front of a judge's chambers. Judge Sarah Chen agreed to see us on an emergency basis. She was a woman in her 60s with silver hair and a no-nonsense expression. Patricia presented the handwritten document and the photograph. She explained the guardianship hearing scheduled for Monday. She explained the plane tickets to Switzerland. Judge Chen studied the documents in silence. Then she looked up at me. Mrs. Hartwell, she said, why didn't you bring this forward immediately? I was trying to protect my granddaughters, Your Honor, I said quietly. I didn't want them to know their mother had sold them, but their safety is more important than protecting their feelings. Judge Chen nodded slowly. She picked up her phone and called someone. I need you to pull the file on Hartwell versus Hartwell, she said. Yes, immediately. 20 minutes later, we had a ruling. Judge Chen suspended Jennifer's custody temporarily, pending a full hearing. She issued an order allowing me supervised visitation, and most importantly, she flagged the girls' passports, preventing them from leaving the country. Patricia, get this order to the Meridian Hotel immediately, Judge Chen said. And Mrs. Hartwell, she looked at me sternly. This doesn't mean you've won, but it does mean those children will be safe until we sort this out properly. I felt tears streaming down my face. Thank you, Your Honor. Marcus drove me to the Meridian. We had the court order in hand. When we walked into the lobby, I saw hotel security and 2 police officers waiting. Patricia had called ahead. We took the elevator to the 8th floor. Marcus knocked on the door. Jennifer opened it. She was wearing a silk robe and holding a glass of wine. When she saw me, her eyes widened, then narrowed with rage. "What are you doing here?" she hissed. "You're violating the restraining order. I'm calling the police." "They're already here," Patricia said, stepping forward and handing Jennifer the court order. "Your custody has been suspended, Miss Hartwell." Jennifer snatched the paper, her hands shaking as she read it. Her face went pale, then red with fury. "This is garbage," she screamed. "You can't do this. Those are my children." Behind her, I could see into the suite. Sophia, Olivia, and Maya were huddled together on the couch, their eyes wide. "Girls," I said, my voice breaking, "come here." They ran past Jennifer, who tried to grab Maya's arm but was blocked by one of the police officers. All 3 of them crashed into me, and I wrapped my arms around them, holding them so tight I thought my heart might burst. "You can't take them," Jennifer screamed, her careful facade completely shattered now. "They're mine. The money is mine." And there it was, the truth. Not my daughters, not my babies, the money. One of the police officers stepped forward. "Ma'am, you need to calm down." But Jennifer wasn't calm. She was screaming obscenities, throwing things. The wine glass shattered against the wall. She lunged at me, her nails aimed at my face, and the officers had to physically restrain her. I got the girls out of that room as quickly as I could, ushering them into the elevator. As the doors closed, I could still hear Jennifer screaming. In the lobby, Marcus had his car waiting. I buckled the girls into the back seat, checking each seatbelt twice, still not quite believing they were really with me. If you feel my words, show your support by liking the video and subscribing to the channel. And tell me from which city you belong, so I can see how far a woman's impactful voice can reach. Help me build this community so we can bring more truthful stories for you. As we drove away from the Meridian, Sophia reached forward and grabbed my hand. "Grandma," she said, "we knew you'd come for us." I looked at her in the rearview mirror, this brave, brilliant girl who'd kept her sisters safe. I squeezed her hand back. "Always," I said. "I will always come for you." Jennifer still had her lawyers. She still had her lies. And the final guardianship hearing was still scheduled for Monday. The battle wasn't won yet, but at least now we had a fighting chance. The weekend passed in a blur of preparation. Patricia Morrison worked around the clock, building our case. Marcus dug up more evidence, more proof of Jennifer's lies. And I spent every moment I could with my granddaughters, trying to reassure them that everything would be okay. But on Sunday night, Sophia came to me with tears in her eyes. "Grandma," she said, "what if the judge doesn't believe you? What if we have to go back to her?" I pulled her close. "I won't let that happen," I promised. Monday morning arrived, cold and gray. We drove to the courthouse in silence. The building was surrounded by news vans. Jennifer had made sure this would be a media spectacle. Inside, the courtroom was packed. I saw Jennifer sitting with Marcus Blackwell, both of them dressed immaculately, looking like victims of a terrible injustice. When Jennifer saw me, she gave me a smile that made my blood run cold. The judge presiding was Judge William Morrison, no relation to Patricia. He was a stern-looking man in his 70s, with a reputation for being tough but fair. Patricia stood and presented our case methodically. She entered the handwritten document into evidence. She showed the photograph. She presented phone records showing Jennifer hadn't contacted the girls in 13 years. She brought up the plane tickets to Switzerland. Then she called me to the stand. I walked up, my legs shaking but my voice steady. I told the truth, all of it, the night Jennifer abandoned them, the years of raising them alone on a nurse's pension, the morning the police kicked in my door. "Mrs. Hartwell," Patricia said gently, "why did you accept that document from your daughter? Why did you take money in exchange for the children? I didn't take money for them, I said firmly. I gave Jennifer money. $12,000. It was every penny I had saved. She said she owed dangerous people, said they would hurt the girls if she didn't pay. I sold my car to get that money. The document was her idea. She said if she signed her rights away, she could start over and the girls would be safe. Patricia asked. I took that picture, I admitted, because even then some part of me knew she might come back someday and lie about what happened. I wanted proof of what kind of person abandons a sick baby in the heat to pose with a car. Marcus Blackwell stood for cross-examination. He was smooth, polished, and vicious. Mrs. Hartwell, isn't it true that you coerced my client into signing that document, that you threatened her? No, I said. That's not true. Isn't it true that you kept these children isolated, that you told them their mother was dead? I never told them their mother was dead, I said. I told them the truth, that their mother had made choices and couldn't take care of them. You're a woman of limited means, aren't you, Mrs. Hartwell? Living on a small pension? Yes, I said. And now that these children have come into a substantial inheritance, you stand to benefit greatly as their guardian, don't you? I felt the anger rise. I stand to benefit by watching them grow up safe and loved. That's the only thing I've ever wanted. But Blackwell had planted the seed. I could see some of the jury members looking at me with suspicion. Then Jennifer took the stand. She was brilliant. She cried at exactly the right moments. She talked about how much she'd missed her babies. She claimed I had threatened her, manipulated her, forced her to sign away her rights. When Patricia cross-examined her, she was ready. Hartwell, if you were so traumatized by your mother, why didn't you contact the police? Why didn't you try to get your children back for 13 years? I was terrified, Jennifer said, her voice trembling. I was afraid she would hurt them if I tried to contact them. I've been in therapy all these years trying to heal from the trauma. Then why did you come back now? Patricia pressed. Because I finally got the strength, Jennifer said. Because I couldn't live with myself anymore, knowing my babies were out there somewhere. It was a masterclass in manipulation. I watched the jury, and I could see some of them were buying it. Patricia called Sophia to testify. My granddaughter walked to the stand with her head high. At 16, she was poised and articulate. Sophia, Patricia said gently, tell the court about your relationship with your grandmother. Sophia looked directly at the jury. My grandmother is the only mother I've ever known, she said clearly. She taught me to read. She sat with me through every nightmare. She worked double shifts to pay for my debate team fees. She never missed a single parent-teacher conference. And your mother? Patricia asked. I don't know her, Sophia said simply. The first time I saw her was when the police broke into our house. She's a stranger who wants us for money, not love. Marcus Blackwell objected, but Sophia's words hung in the air. Then came the moment that changed everything. Patricia called an unexpected witness. A woman I didn't recognize walked to the stand. She was in her 40s, professionally dressed, with kind eyes. Please state your name for the record, Patricia said. Dr. Amanda Foster, the woman said. I'm a psychiatrist specializing in child trauma. Judge Morrison leaned forward. I don't see this witness on the approved list. Your Honor, Patricia said. Dr. Foster examined the children this weekend at my request, given the emergency nature of this case. Objection, Blackwell shouted. This is highly irregular. Judge Morrison considered for a moment. I'll allow it, but keep it brief. Dr. Foster opened a file. I spent 6 hours with Sophia, Olivia, and Maya this weekend, she said. I conducted extensive interviews and psychological evaluations. She looked at Jennifer with an expression of professional neutrality that somehow felt damning. In my expert opinion, these children show no signs of Stockholm Syndrome or manipulation by their grandmother. What they show are strong, healthy attachments to Elena Hartwell. They trust her completely. Then Dr. Foster turned to address the judge directly. However, after spending just 1 week with Jennifer Hartwell, all 3 girls are showing signs of acute anxiety and trauma. Maya has started having nightmares. Olivia has stress-induced headaches. Sophia reported panic attacks. Objection, Blackwell said again, but his voice was weaker now. These children are terrified of their biological mother, Dr. Foster continued. and based on my professional assessment, placing them in her care would cause severe and lasting psychological harm. The courtroom was silent. Jennifer's face had gone pale. Judge Morrison called a recess. We waited in a small conference room, the minutes ticking by like hours. Sophia held my hand on one side, Olivia on the other. Maya sat in my lap, even though she was really too big for it now. After 90 minutes, we were called back. Judge Morrison looked exhausted. He shuffled papers on his bench, then looked up. "I have reviewed all the evidence presented in this case," he said. "I have considered the testimony from both sides, and I have read Dr. Foster's psychological evaluation." He paused, and my heart stopped. "It is clear to me that while Ms. Jennifer Hartwell may have given birth to these children, she has not been their parent. Elena Hartwell has been their parent in every meaningful sense for 13 years. Furthermore," he continued, "the evidence suggests that Ms. Jennifer Hartwell's sudden interest in her daughters coincides suspiciously with their inheritance. The document presented by the defense, while unusual, appears to be authentic and signed willingly." Jennifer started to stand, but Blackwell pulled her back down. "Therefore," Judge Morrison said, "I am awarding full custody and guardianship of Sophia, Olivia, and Maya to Elena Hartwell. Ms. Jennifer Hartwell may apply for supervised visitation after completing a psychological evaluation and parenting courses." The courtroom erupted. Jennifer screamed. Reporters started shouting questions, but all I could hear was my granddaughters crying with relief. Judge Morrison wasn't finished. Furthermore, he raised his voice over the chaos. "I am ordering an investigation into the criminal charges brought against Mrs. Elena Hartwell. Based on the evidence presented today, it appears those charges were filed in bad faith." He looked directly at Marcus Blackwell. "And I am referring Mr. Blackwell to the State Bar for potential disciplinary action for presenting what appears to be false testimony." Blackwell's face went gray. The bailiffs had to escort Jennifer from the courtroom as she screamed threats and obscenities. I watched her go, this woman who had given birth to me but had never really been my mother. And I felt nothing but pity. Patricia hugged me. "You did it," she said. "You got your girls back." "We did it," I corrected her. "Thank you." Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed us, but Marcus Reeves and Patricia formed a protective barrier, getting us to the car. As we drove away, I looked back at the building where I'd almost lost everything. The criminal charges against me were dropped 2 weeks later. The district attorney issued a formal apology. The news media, always hungry for the next story, moved on. Jennifer tried to appeal the custody decision, but her lawyers advised her it was hopeless. Eventually, she disappeared again, off to wherever people go when their schemes fall apart. I heard months later that she'd moved to California and was dating some tech entrepreneur. She never asked about the girls. She was gone from our lives as completely as if she'd never come back. The inheritance money sat in trust, managed by a firm Patricia recommended. The girls wouldn't touch it until they were 21, and honestly that was fine by me. We didn't need it. What we needed was each other. 6 months after the trial, I made a decision. I sold my house. It held too many bad memories now. The broken door, the police raid, the fear. We needed a fresh start. I used some of the guardian management fee the court had allocated to me, and I bought something I'd always dreamed of. A motorhome. Not a small one either. A beautiful 45-foot Class A with 2 bedrooms, a full kitchen, and enough space for 4 women to live comfortably. We left Austin on a Tuesday morning. Sophia had just gotten her driver's license. Olivia had her art supplies packed in every available corner. Maya had her stuffed rabbit and a new EpiPen that I kept in 3 different locations. We drove west. We didn't have a destination in mind. We just drove toward the sunset, and whatever came next. We spent that first year on the road. We saw the Grand Canyon and Yellowstone. We camped on beaches in California and in forests in Oregon. We learned that home isn't a place, it's the people you're with. Sophia got accepted to Stanford with a full scholarship. She's studying law now, wants to help other families like ours. Olivia sells her paintings online and has a growing following. Maya is 14 now, healthy and happy and loved. As for me, I'm 70 years old. My hands shake a little more than they used to, but I've never felt more alive. We're parked right now at a campground in Montana. The mountains are purple in the distance. There's a campfire crackling in front of our motorhome. Sophia is teaching Maya how to roast marshmallows without setting them on fire. Olivia is sketching the sunset. I look at them and I think about Jennifer. She sold these incredible human beings for $12,000. She traded a lifetime of moments like this for a car that probably ended up in a junkyard years ago. She thought value was something you could count in a bank account. She thought happiness came from designer clothes and fancy hotels and Instagram likes. She was wrong about everything that mattered. People talk about blood being thicker than water. They say family is family no matter what, but I've learned that's not true. Biology is just biology. Family is a choice. Family is who stays when things get hard. Family is who fights for you when everyone else walks away. Jennifer gave birth to my granddaughters, but she was never their mother. I didn't give birth to them, but I am their mother in every way that counts. The inheritance money will be there when they need it. It'll pay for college and first homes and whatever dreams they chase. But it's not what makes them rich. What makes them rich is knowing they're loved unconditionally. What makes them rich is knowing someone will always fight for them. What makes them rich is growing up with a grandmother who chose them every single day. Jennifer sold her daughters for the price of a used car, but me, I wouldn't trade a single moment with these girls for all the money in the world. As the sun sets over the Montana mountains, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink, Maya brings me a perfectly roasted marshmallow. "Grandma," she says, offering it to me with sticky fingers and a bright smile. "This one's for you." I take the marshmallow and pull her close. Around us, Sophia and Olivia are laughing at some inside joke. The fire crackles. The air smells like pine trees and possibility. This, right here, is everything Jennifer threw away. This is what she missed while she was chasing money and status and whatever else she thought would fill the emptiness inside her. I've spent the last 40 years of my life as a nurse, caring for other people's children. Now I get to spend whatever years I have left caring for my own. Some people might say I wasted my retirement, that I should be on a cruise ship somewhere or playing bingo at a senior center, but I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. The legal system almost failed us. The police didn't believe me. The media vilified me. I was hours away from losing everything that mattered, but I had the truth and I had the courage to fight for it, and in the end, that was enough. If there's one thing I want people to take away from my story, it's this. Never let anyone tell you that money is more valuable than love. Never let anyone make you believe that success is measured in dollar signs instead of in moments of joy with the people you cherish. Jennifer has her freedom. She can go wherever she wants, buy whatever she wants, be whoever she wants. But she's alone. She traded the only things that truly mattered for things that never will. I'm 70 years old, living in a motorhome with 3 teenage girls. I don't have a mansion or a sports car. I don't have designer clothes or a social media following. But I have Sophia's laughter when she beats me at cards. I have Olivia's latest painting taped to the motorhome wall. I have Maya's arms around my neck every night before bed. And that makes me the richest woman in the world. As darkness falls and the stars come out over Montana, we sit around the fire together. Sophia is telling a story about something that happened at school. Olivia is adding dramatic sound effects. Maya is curled up against my side, her head on my shoulder. This is the life Jennifer sold for $12,000. This is what she thought was worth less than a Nissan Altima. I hold my granddaughters close, and I think about all the women out there who are fighting similar battles. All the grandmothers raising their grandchildren because the parents walked away. All the foster mothers and adoptive mothers and stepmothers who loved children that didn't come from their bodies. Biology doesn't make you a mother. Love makes you a mother. Sacrifice makes you a mother. Showing up every single day, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard, that's what makes you a mother. Jennifer will probably never understand that. She'll probably spend the rest of her life chasing the next big thing, the next source of money or status or whatever she thinks will finally make her happy. But I already have everything I need. It's sitting right here around this campfire, with sticky marshmallow fingers and bright eyes and hearts that are finally healing from the trauma she caused. The road stretches out ahead of us, full of possibilities. Tomorrow, we might drive to Glacier National Park, or we might stay here another day. It doesn't matter. We have time, we have each other. We have a future that Jennifer tried to steal but couldn't. Because some things can't be bought, or sold, or stolen. Some things are too precious for any price tag. And as I look at my 3 granddaughters, my 3 beautiful girls who have been through hell and come out stronger, I know with absolute certainty that I made the right choice every step of the way. If you feel my words, show your support by liking the video and subscribing to the channel. And tell me from which city you belong, so I can see how far a woman's impactful voice can reach. Help me build this community so we can bring more truthful stories for you. Jennifer sold her children. I saved them, and now we're free. The fire burns down to embers, the stars shine bright overhead, and somewhere in the distance, a coyote howls at the moon. Not because we're in a house with 4 walls and a white picket fence, but because we're together. And no amount of money in the world could ever be worth more than that.